They said she was too ugly to be loved. Her father never hugged her, never looked her in the eye. And when trouble came to the village, he gave her away like a broken object. No questions, no tears, just silence. Leela was handed over to a man from the Apache tribe as if she had no heart, no soul. Everyone thought that would be the end of her, but fate had a different story. The man she was given to didn't turn away. He didn't mock her scars or avoid her eyes. Instead, he listened when she spoke, held her when she cried, and saw something in her that no one else ever had. In a world that only judged her by her face, he saw her heart. And for the first time in her life, Lila felt what real love actually meant. But it came from the most unexpected place. Lila wasn't like other girls in her dusty little town. While others wore ribbons and laughed freely, she stayed quiet, hidden behind long sleeves and lowered eyes. Her face carried deep scars, some from an accident, others from her father's words. People whispered when she passed, and children laughed behind her back. Her mother had died when she was only 6, and from that moment, her world grew cold. Her father never spoke softly to her, never asked how she felt. He called her a curse, a burden he didn't ask for. Every meal she ate felt like a debt. Every breath she took felt unwanted. At night, she cried into her pillow, wondering why she had even been born. She didn't dream of love or family anymore, only silence, only escape. She believed she would never matter to anyone, but life, in its strange, cruel way, had something else planned for her. Lila had grown used to silence, but nothing could prepare her for what came next. One morning, her father stormed into the house without a word. His face was pale, his hands shaking. He threw a worn-out cloth bag at her feet and told her to pack her things. "You're leaving," he said coldly, not looking at her. Lila stared at him, confused. "Where am I going?" she whispered. He didn't answer. By noon, he had dragged her to the edge of the village, where a group of Apache men waited on horseback. The leader of the group was tall, calm, and silent. His eyes didn't show anger, just observation. Lila's father didn't explain, didn't speak her name. He simply handed her over as if she were nothing but an object payment to avoid conflict, a token of peace in exchange for land and safety. Lila stood frozen, her heart pounding. No one stopped him. No one spoke for her. As the Apaches rode away with her in the middle, the townspeople watched from behind their windows, whispering, "She was never meant for us anyway." Not a single tear fell from her father's eye. He didn't wave. He didn't stay to see her go. Lila didn't cry either. She was too numb. Her hands trembled around the bag she held, which carried only 2 dresses and a cracked photo of her mother. The trail was long, dry, and silent. Dust filled her lungs, but she didn't dare cough. The Apache men spoke in a language she didn't understand, but she could feel eyes on her, not cruel or mocking, just curious. She had no idea what waited for her. In her mind, she prepared for a prison, a life of suffering, or silence even deeper than before. The thought that she might be treated worse than she had been at home filled her chest with dread. But she was already used to being unloved. She told herself, "Don't expect kindness. Don't expect anything." That night, when they set up camp under a sky full of stars, no one tied her up. No one yelled at her. The same tall warrior who had looked at her earlier offered her water and food without speaking. He placed a blanket beside the fire for her to sleep on, and then turned away to give her space. Lila didn't understand why, but her tears finally came. Not because someone had shouted at her, but because someone hadn't. For the first time, a stranger had shown her more care than her own father ever had. Still, she didn't trust it. She couldn't. Somewhere deep inside, she believed this was only a trick, that the pain was still coming. But something about the way the warrior had looked at her confirmed, and without disgust stayed in her mind. That night, under the moonlight, wrapped in a blanket she didn't ask for, Lila closed her eyes and felt the strange, aching weight of hope for the very first time. Lila had prepared herself for cold stares and silent hatred. But what she found in the Apache camp was something she had never known: kindness without condition. Taza, the tall warrior who had accepted her at the border, was not a man of many words, but his actions spoke louder than anything she had ever heard. He never forced her to speak, never demanded anything from her. On the first morning, he left food outside her tent, fresh bread, fruit, and water. She waited, thinking it might be a trick, but no one came to take it back. She ate with shaky hands, expecting someone to shout, but only silence followed. Day after day, Taza did small things. That confused her heart. When the nights grew cold, he quietly laid an extra blanket near her. When she coughed from the dust, he handed her a warm herbal drink. And when she accidentally cut her hand on a sharp stone, he sat beside her, gently cleaning the wound. His fingers were rough, but his touch was soft. He didn't flinch at her scars. He didn't look away from her face. He looked directly into her eyes and didn't blink. For the first time in her life, someone saw her and didn't look away. Slowly, Lila began to speak, just a few words at first. Then, one night by the fire, she told him her name. He repeated it carefully, like it mattered. She smiled without meaning to. He smiled back. That was the first time she realized he didn't see her the way her father did. Taza didn't see something broken. He saw a woman who had survived. In the days that followed, he taught her their language, and she taught him pieces of hers. They laughed over simple words and gestures, and the laughter felt strange on her tongue, like a bird learning to sing again. The villagers, too, began to accept her. The children no longer ran from her face. They ran to her for stories. The women taught her how to cook over open flames, how to braid herbs for healing. Lila, who had once been unwanted, was now being seen fully, completely. But the moment that changed, everything came quietly. One evening, she sat near the river, staring at her reflection. Her scars still showed. Her teeth were still crooked. She still wasn't what the world would call beautiful. But Taza came and sat beside her. He didn't speak. He simply touched the side of her face, gently, like it was something sacred. Then, in his quiet voice, he said, "They never saw you, but I do." Lila's heart broke open in that moment, not from pain, but from something even heavier. Love, not the kind found in books or stories, but the kind that heals wounds no one else can see. And for the first time in her life, she let herself believe she deserved it. Years passed, and the girl once called ugly became a woman who walked with quiet strength. Lila never returned to the town that gave her away. She no longer needed her father's apology or the world's approval. In the Apache village, she built a life stitched with meaning, each thread held by hands that cherished her without condition. Taza, the man she was given to like a burden, had become her home. He loved her with the kind of patience that rewrote every cruel word she had ever heard. Her scars never faded, but they no longer hurt. They became proof of what she survived and who she became. People still tell her story, how a discarded girl became the heart of a tribe, how a love born from betrayal turned into something unbreakable. Lila was never ugly. The world was just blind, but one man saw her hand. That was enough to change everything.